Good evening. I'll call the West Mead Township Board of Supervisors meeting for December 2024 to order. Roll call.
Jordan?
Here.
Chartle?
Here.
Bovard?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please note that all supervisors' public meetings are subject to public and/or private audio and video recording. Is there any public comment on agenda items at this time? Hearing none, please note that public comment will also be received during each agenda item and at the end of the meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the November 12th, 2024 study session and regular meeting minutes and the November 16th, 2024 special meeting minutes as presented in our packets. Need a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. I will entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's reports for November 2024 and approve payment of bills in the amount of $115,179.36, subject to audit.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. Okay, moving on to our monthly municipal reports. We'll start with Police Chief Chip Brown.
Good evening. For the month of November, we received 58 complaints and 58 of those were cleared. Time spent in school zones was 8.5 hours. There was 158 hours spent on traffic watch and patrol time, 80.5 hours spent on office and reports. Investigative time was 56 hours. There was 9 hours spent in court proceedings. Miscellaneous time was 15 hours. There were 14 traffic stops, with 1 citation being issued for speeding, 1 for inspection violation, 1 for careless driving, and 6 for obedience control devices. There were 5 warnings issued, 3 for speeding, 1 for faulty equipment, 1 for ATV on the roadway. We assisted the zoning officer once. We assisted other police departments once. We assisted fire and EMS twice. We assisted other agencies once. We had 2 fingerprint services conducted and 1 court subpoena service. There were 3 non-reportable accidents investigated. There was 1 investigation for child pornography. There was 1 for outstanding warrants, 3 fraud investigations, 1 criminal mischief, 1 theft, 1 vandalism. There were 3 domestic disturbance calls, 1 harassment, 2 behavioral calls, 6 residential alarms, 1 911 call check to check welfares of a person. There were 2 911 hang-up calls. There were 4 felony arrests under the PICS investigation, and also 4 misdemeanor arrests under the PICS weapon investigation. Total mileage was 1,959 miles.
Okay, any questions or comments for Chief Brown? Were you able to get the cruiser down to Butler?
Yes, and the equipment was removed, and then Jill's been talking between the entities to get it out of Ivastech, and at the moment the equipment that was removed, they are holding for us and moving on from there.
What'd we end up with?
You and I are going to have to talk with the insurance adjuster tomorrow. They came back with the estimate $64 more. So the value isn't where we hoped it would be.
All right.
Okay, anything else for Chief Brown? Thank you, Chip.
I just got it.
Okay, John, with the road report for the past month?
Yep, from 11/12/24 to 12/10/24 today. We've continued to vacuum leaves as much as we could on both sides of the township. We currently, after today, are hoping that we're done. We may have some additional ditches to pick up on, but he ran most of the day today and cleaned up any excess piles, and all the bag leaves have been retrieved and taken care of. We had a number of ditching projects that we did last month. They're trying to get ready for the winter. We again serviced all the trucks and started winter preparation, got everything, spreaders on, wings on, plows on, checked it all, everything all over, and actually had a chance to wash and wax and remove all the winter or the summer debris and tar off the trucks and put a good coat of wax on them, get ready for the winter. We've had a number of brush cutting projects that we did out on Stan Road, Dixon Road. We did a project with Woodcock for PennDOT, and we assisted in that. And then we also did another brush cutting project on Terrace Street and addressed some dead trees. We had 9 days of actual winter maintenance where we were out plowing or putting down salt or anti-skid for the roads. And after the rains that we've had here, we've been opening plug pipes, culverts, and drains, and that's on both sides of the township. And we actually took some time to repair some plow damage. I don't know, it was a rough start, so we had a little bit of plow damage all over the place. So, and again, I'll tell people too that if we bump something in front of your house, don't get alarmed as far as your yard or whatever. We'll be there to fix it. So I know people get stirred up when that happens, but we fix it. So,
Any mailbox damage yet?
no mailboxes. Not on our hit. Not on our rent. There was some complaints, but not what we did.
Any questions, comments for John? Thank you very much. Jill, with the zoning report for the last month?
For the last month in November, we had 4 residential additions for a total of $40,805. There were no hearings or any zoning hearings or applications. So I think through the end of the year, this will be it for the month of December even.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Jill? No. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to the regular business. Item number 1, we're going to consider approving a request to subdivide lands owned by Mark Weber, shown as the Weber 2024-1 subdivision plan for property located on Dick Street. The subdivision involves establishing lot number 1, consisting of 0.334 vacant acres, and it will be established from tax parcel number 3204-021-22-23-24-19-20-29. Can't make that stuff up. And it will be transferred to Franklin Bowersox. This lot would become a standalone lot fronting on Dick Street. Alan, do you have anything you want to?
No, it's explained very well, shown here very clearly.
Is that the parking lot?
I know of no reason not to approve it.
Yeah.
If you would, please come up, tell us who you are.
Pardon. I'm Franklin Bowersox. I'm the person purchasing the property. Last time I was here, it wasn't nearly as official, so I appreciate, nonetheless, you guys having me. Pretty much the purpose of purchasing this property is on the east side of it would be my father's property. My mother passed in 2021, and I'll be taking over that property within the coming year. This land I'll hopefully add to that property as well. But is there any questions?
Is that the old parking lot they used to have for Weber Harris?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been regarded as such.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think on the south side of the property, it's a large cliff down to Weber Harris.
Yes.
In goal, I can't really see it being very valuable to them. Mark has said the same thing.
Yeah.
I do plan on having John come on out with his crew and putting in a new culvert pipe because boy, it probably needed it a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was part of your guys' effort last year, or this year, I think,
Yeah,
where you dug it out.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you'll get some of my money.
Yeah, give us a yell in the spring, we'll come out and fix you up.
Absolutely. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bowersox.
Thank you, guys. It's very nice meeting you.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the request and authorize signing the Weber 2024-1 subdivision plan for the property we just discussed located on Dick Street as presented, pending final signatures and any other necessary requirements. Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. Okay, item number 2 is concerning our 2025 proposed budget. We need to hold a budget hearing for final review of the proposed 2025 budget. So Jill, if you would, as you have in the past, please give us a Cliff Note version of the proposed budget for 2025.
Sure. We have gone to QuickBooks, so we've changed over our accounting software. So that being said, this has kind of been a trial year. We're looking to streamline and make some changes as far as to have everything come out of the one package, the one software package. So we're on task for that. As far as, we used to have 5 accounts, but we have gotten rid of the one ARPA, it's the ARPA funds. So our budget this year is down to only 3 funds, the ARPA fund and the Act 13 oil and gas. It was a very small fund, so we assimilated it into the general fund just to show it as a line item. It was like to the tune of $70. So that being said, we streamlined it. We now only have the 3 accounts left then. One's the general fund, one's the state fund, and then the other one is our capital and capital interest fund. So they're being shown together. We're looking at a no tax increase budget, so our real estate taxes will not increase. The tax rate is 5.25 mils. That's been that way for 3 years now, so there's no tax increase. In our general fund budget, we have a carryover of like $241,499. Our total revenues we're showing at $1,464,514. And then our expenditures, we're looking at $1,701,639, leaving us a year-end balance of $4,374. Doesn't sound like much, but through the end of the year, we should be getting some more revenues in. We'll have earned income and some other amounts that'll come due. So I feel comfortable with this budget this year. We've shown this is pretty much a status quo. We're keeping things. We're still funding the MARC. We're adding a little bit more to the fire departments. We're still paying for employees and everything, whether it be the police, the office, or the road department. So we're continuing to fund and provide everything the same. We do have some potential road projects that we're talking about doing. Nothing set in stone yet. That's something, John, closer to the spring, you'll figure out, or we'll get some cost estimates together. But that would all come out of the state fund, which when you look at the state fund, we have like a $30,000 fund balance. We anticipate getting in $219,503, so we'll spend that entire amount in some kind of road-related projects. And then our capital reserve fund, that is our capital monies that we try not to use. We've got $2,178,309 left at the end of the year. We will get money. We have loaned money to the fire department, so they'll pay us back not the whole amount next year, but they make payments twice a year, every year, and they have, I anticipate in the next few years them having that paid off. So that being said, we do use the interest off of that capital reserve money. We call that the capital reserve interest. I do have money set aside in that for potential police vehicle, because recently we had a police accident, or, the vehicle, so we may need to replace that. So there is money funding for that, plus funding some of the fire department monies. So that's kind of it in a quick overview. If you want me to explain any more, I can do that, but that's our, and it's available on the website and everything too.
Do we have any comments from the general public on the proposed 2025 budget? Hearing none, supervisors' comments?
I have nothing. It's a balanced budget and no tax increase. Sounds good.
Anything, John?
Just go a month at a time, that's all. Stay as tight as we can and try to do as much blacktop work in the spring, and then, it all hinges on how bad the winter wants to treat us, and so far, we've been, it was a rough week or so, or rough 9 days there, but beyond that, it's been good, so the next 2 weeks don't look too awful bad either.
Well, I'd just like to say that Jill does pretty much the same process every year. We like to underestimate revenues and overestimate expenditures, and normally we come out pretty good when we do that. Unfortunately, I think we did 2 or 3 years ago, we did have a 1 mil tax increase, but hopefully we don't have to do that again anytime in the near future. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-20, adopting the 2025 budget, and resolution number 2025-21, setting the real estate tax millage for 2025 at 5.25 mils.
So move. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I will tell you, it should actually say 2024-20, because it's a 2024 resolution, and for the 2025 budget, and resolution 2024-21. So both those fives should be fours,
Fours,
because it's
gotcha.
in 4.
All right.
So I apologize for that.
You guys are still good with your motions?
Yeah.
Still good.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Darrell?
Yes.
Bogart?
Yes. Okay. Item number 3, we need to hold a public hearing to consider the adoption of ordinance number 2024-4, an ordinance to amend the West Mead Township zoning ordinance to establish new requirements for solar energy systems and to provide revised conditional use standards for these developments. So I'll turn it over to our solicitor, Alan Chattinger, at this time.
It's only taken us, what, a year to get to this point, essentially?
Only been that long?
What's before the board tonight for its consideration and adoption, if it wishes to do so, is an ordinance which will amend our zoning ordinance, our existing zoning ordinance, to add regulations principally to cover what we refer to oftentimes as large-scale solar developments, which can occupy land uses of between 20 and 300 acres or more, depending on the scope of the solar energy company that wishes to locate their panels in our township. This ordinance will allow, if adopted, will allow large-scale solar energy production developments in agricultural and rural residential zoning districts, which are largely the majority of the township. But it also provides certain limitations on the construction and of those developments. And I'll just go through and give sort of an example of some of the limitations. There's an effort to protect what we call prime soils, prime agricultural soils, which would include Class 1 and Class 2 agricultural soils. Would limit the development in those particular areas which would have those soils. Cannot be located in floodways as designated on the FEMA maps. Would have to be 25 feet from streams. Would would have to limit its destruction of forested lands. There's a certain limitation on which they would be able to remove existing forested lands in order to accommodate the development. Would have to stay off road rights of way. And will, in addition to that, the area will be fenced. The fence height that we have in place is an 8-foot high fence, and that's for purposes of adding security so that there's no damage done to the system itself. For the most part, lines, to the extent it's feasible to do so, would be located underground. We have very little regulation of the scope of the development itself for purposes of, as needed in order to produce the electricity that they will be selling to a large public utility. And the requirement will include a 50-foot setback from all property lines and road right-of-ways. To the extent that the property owners that might adjoin the parcels being set aside for such developments may be faced with a visual view of solar arrays and solar panels. We're requiring that screening and buffer be provided so that visibility is at least dampened and screened to some degree so that they don't have to see these screens, the solar panels, I'm sorry. The developer has to provide contact information, which is always available. We're going to require that fire and other emergency response personnel receive at least information and training to the extent possible for whatever they would have to encounter if they were called on the scene in order to respond to an emergency on site. The ordinance will provide for decommissioning requirements for as long as the solar development is in place and operational. They will have to provide the township with security in the amount of the estimated cost of removing the development from the sites. And that will be a obligation of whoever is operating the solar production facility for as long as it's in operation, so that in the event that they were to leave and not remove the solar panels and the other facilities that they have on the site, that they could be removed by the township if we had to do so. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that's sort of an overview of what the proposed ordinance would do.
Okay, any public comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, move on to supervisors' comments.
Well, I think this is just a protection for our residents. We can't stop it, but at least we have some bite to this, that they're not just gonna come in and put it right up next to your house and that. And there's some protection here for it, as much as we possibly can legally do.
And I could say it's basically a reasonable kind of protection that's afforded to provide some buffers between residential units and the development of the fields into solar panels. You know, one thing that might be of interest is there's also going to be an effort to make sure that whatever the ground cover is within that area will be basically a vegetative ground cover, so that it helps both stormwater protection as well as, again, creating the soils that absorbs and makes sense for that area.
John, anything?
I'm on board with it.
And Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but this does not prevent a homeowner from putting
No.
solar panels on their roof or
No,
something
we
like that?
we have regulations that apply to that as well, but they're relatively minimal, basically height related. Again, a setback, the normal setbacks for residential units and that kind of thing. So, yeah, they're nothing unusual, I don't believe. So,
No, and we, even for building permit wise, there's very little regulation for individual homeowners. You want to put them on your roof, you want to heat your pool with them, something of that nature. This is more geared towards
Yeah.
larger or,
Industrial,
yeah, commercial scale,
right.
which I did have, believe it or not, today. Somebody called to ask if we had a solar panel ordinance in place and if we have any regulations. So maybe they got wind of, I don't, you know, it was just a
So, yeah,
question, just a question, so.
Was it a vendor?
It was just somebody just to ask, so.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-4, adopting an ordinance to amend the West Mead Township zoning ordinance to add new requirements for solar energy systems and to provide revised conditional use standards for these developments to become effective on December 17th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. Item number 4, I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-5, establishing and reestablishing certain speed limits on roads located in West Mead Township. Yes. Before we make a motion, Alan, if you could provide some background for us.
It's my understanding that what this does is essentially restate all of the speed limits that we have and made a couple of changes from what had been in existence before. Am I correct about that, generally
Yeah.
speaking? I'm not going to read the list of roads that are,
The only one that did change, and John and I can maybe speak to it, is the Barton Road.
okay. Which is
Other than that,
now,
everything else stayed exactly the same.
and Barton is going to be 35?
Correct.
Okay.
35 in both directions from end to end.
So it makes it uniform.
And it was, we did a speed study,
Yep.
so that was mandatory before we do anything.
There's two lists of roads in the township which are going to be 25 mile an hour, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're all 25. And then there's, and again, I don't know the number, but there's at least 20 to 25 that are going to be 35 miles an hour.
That already are. This
Right,
is just
right.
the restatement of them, yeah.
Right. And then there's probably 12 or something that are 45 miles per hour, and the rest are all 55.
Yeah, if they're not marked.
Not many, okay.
Any public comment? Any supervisors comment? Roll call? Oh, I guess we need the motion. Who wants to make a motion?
Go ahead, John.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. All right, item number 5. Jill represented the township at the French Creek Council of Governments joint fuel bid opening on November 26th, held here at the township building. And Jill, you're gonna read the bids?
There was only one. There was 8 different municipalities went together, so we were one of 8. Reed Oil was the only one that gave a bid of $2.3455, and then the plus or minus is .10. So that's based on the OPUS price that they provide. So the price delivered is $2.4455. That is as of that Tuesday, the last Tuesday
That's
of the month.
diesel fuel? Okay.
That was then. Now it goes
Oh,
up.
yeah.
That's what that plus or minus. So it's not, that's not gonna be the amount for the whole year. It's just basically, you look at the .10. But the total amount was $6,113.75. It's less than really what you're required to bid out, but this way we don't have to do it, and
Right.
for auditing purposes, we do it all at one time.
Okay.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to award the contract to Reed Oil Company for the purchase of diesel fuel to be effective from January 1st, 2025 until December 31st, 2027.
And that number I gave you was just per year. That's why
Oh.
there's a multi-3-year contract.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
just so we're clear on,
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. Item 6, I will entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Seth Wise as a part-time police officer with the West Mead Township Police Department effective December 10th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Got any, nothing? Okay, nothing.
Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. Item number 7, entertain a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the release and settlement agreement pertaining to property owned by Patricia Janung at 12246 Leslie Road.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
Basically, this is just a culmination of the settlement of that case, which has been in discussion now, I think, for a couple of months, but it's time that it ended, and this is necessary in order to make that happen.
And how long has this been going on?
About 5 years, close to it.
Any more discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bovard?
Yes. All right. Item number 8. Anyone want to make a motion to buy a wheel loader under the CoStar's state contract?
I'd just like to review all the pricing right out of the gate. So if everybody wants to do that real quickly, so that the Tribune gets it right and not from us. Rich, if you want to go first, you can.
Okay.
You've explained all your other stuff, your warranties and stuff.
Yeah.
Pricing, we didn't exactly get down to.
Yeah, so like I said, my price is $15,000, roughly below market price. The selling price of $216,750 with a trade number of $74,000. I'm using $100,000 down payment, the grant amount. A net selling price of $42,750.
That's our difference price.
Yes. That would be after down payment trade.
Kevin, I guess you'd be next.
Okay, for the John Deere 544P wheel loader, we have a selling price of $212,750. That is almost $22,000 below state contract price. And we are giving $74,000 for the trade-in of the 544K wheel loader, bringing us to a balance of $38,918. And we have flexible payment options for that.
Real quickly, before you move on, hang on just a second. That $38,918, you're telling me that we could finance that and not pay that payment for a year? Is that what your program is? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
All right.
we deliver the loader, right now we're probably looking about the first or second week of February, because we've,
Right.
had a while discussing the process. Realistically, that's 2025, so you could go 12 months out and make either one full payment right then in 2026. So it wouldn't
Gotcha.
even have to be on your 2025 budget if you don't want it to be.
Gotcha.
Or we can divide it 7 ways
Right.
for annual payments for 7 years.
Okay.
The price on a JCB 437 wheel loader will be $188,500, it's $188,500. We will give you $88,500 on trade for your John Deere loader, which will make the total difference of $100,000, which is exactly the amount that you received on the LSA grant.
So, okay, so our balance to you would be zero.
Correct.
Well, I guess nobody's gonna talk here, so I guess I'm not gonna make a motion. I already made a motion at the last meeting, and I think the dollars and cents speak for itself at this point in time. I know that there's a lot of other things that are facing West Mead Township. And being here every day, I see that every single day, and that's probably part of my downfall here, because I see where we're gonna need a cruiser. I know Chip's been working on numbers on that thing, and how are we gonna do that, We're gonna have to figure that out when the time comes. I know there's an additional amount of road work that would be nice to be able to do if we could do it. Jill and I sat for probably hour and a half today, maybe 2 hours, talking about money, dollars and cents, and racking our brains out on, you know, how to pay for all this stuff that we'd like to do and give back to our residents. For me, it's tough because it's become a dollar and cent game. And again, I see the numbers, I see the difference. I think that all three of these machines are good, reputable machines. I don't have any qualms with either one or any of you about what you can do after the sale. So, at this point, I don't have a lot more input to put into it. The money is huge for me because I know what it takes to get through a year here, and you guys do as well. But, you know, Jill and I are here 5 days a week, 40-plus hours a week, and we see these things on an ongoing basis. And it's not cheap to turn the lights on anymore. So for me, again, like I said, it's about dollars and cents. And then I have to say sorry to you, Kevin, because you've put a lot of work into this thing, Kevin Henry. You've been here right from the get-go. And again, the rest of you put a lot of work into this thing too, after the fact. So, that being said, I think something's got to come from one of the two of you fellas. You guys got to have something to say here. So, I'm not the only one. I'm only one of three. So,
Mike, you have anything
Well,
you want to add?
I know this is a hard decision to make and everything, but with looking at a bunch of different things that I've looked at and everything, this is a tough decision. Like I said, it's not that I am a dollar and cents person, and that's what I'm really looking at here. So when it comes down to the dollars and cents, I've got my feelings on it, and
well, there's a lot of other things too to consider, Mike, too, is warranties and stuff like that.
oh, I know.
You know, and after the sale and
Yeah,
after
well,
the fact.
and I know, and listen, we've had,
Relationships
Yeah.
and
Well-
we build relationships with these people.
yes, I know.
And so I'm not trying to take anything away from you or put any words into your mouth or anything like that. I'm not doing that, but I'm just saying, for me,
I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. I'd like to thank all of you for the time and effort that you've put into this. I know 2 out of 3 of you are going to be disappointed. Again, I apologize for that. I think that price is just one aspect of a purchase, and looking at resale value down the road, looking at reliability and dependability and service, I would agree with what John said. I think regardless of which one we would purchase, the service is going to be top-notch.
well, especially after what we've been through here. I mean, we've been beating this dog for a while. So, keep going.
I think we need to buy the best machine. The machine that we think will last the longest and hold up the best and be most reliable.
How'd you come to that decision? Or haven't you yet?
I'm not a heavy equipment operator.
No, but I think you've learned a lot over the process.
I've learned more than I want to know. That being said, that I'm not a heavy equipment operator, I'm not a supervisor that's gonna come up here and jump in that loader and operate it, like these two gentlemen could do, can do. I don't feel comfortable making the motion, but I would consider seconding a motion.
Again, I made my motion at the last meeting. It went nowhere. I think I've said, I think I've said my piece. I can tell you right now that down the road, we've got other hurdles that need to be addressed. We've got boom mower that's gonna need to be addressed. We've got, you know, a 1998 dump truck sitting out there that we're continuing to run and use and utilize. And, but these things are starting to get to the point where their bodies are starting to go. And can they be refurbished? They probably can be, but is it sensible to do that after that many years? You could put 50 grand in the thing and you still have a 1998 dump truck. So does that make sense? So at some point in time, you have to pull the trigger on something a little newer, a little more updated. We're facing those things. I can tell you that.
Alan, can we ask for public comment before a motion is made?
Absolutely, you could, absolutely.
I would like to ask, that we have at least 2 township residents in here, maybe more than that, but
Gotta be more than that.
Paul and Franklin, you're township taxpayers. What are your thoughts? Paul's been here for most of these meetings.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Paul, speak up.
I don't necessarily think that the lowest price is ultimately the lowest price. That's my opinion. I think I think the township should somewhat be run like a business, just like any government, in my opinion, and you buy what's best suited for your application and what you think is gonna hold up the best and be the best service to you over the life of the product and, you know, what's gonna, the overall cost. I don't think you necessarily just look at the purchase price. And, you know, that's my opinion.
You can get good and bad in anything, we all know that.
Yes.
You know, and all of these vendors could send us a machine, or one of them could send us a machine, it could be a problem child from day one.
Exactly.
We've been down some of that road. And we know what that's all about, it's painful, very painful.
Can I just mention, these are all CoStar's purchases as well, so the
Yes.
bidding was not required.
No.
Right.
Right,
We can
every
purchase what
one of
we want.
them
Right.
can
originally
purchase what we
was, yep.
Franklin?
My only argument there, excuse me, I would focus a lot on resale value as well. I think that that's going to be important. Although the cost might be a little bit higher now, you might at least save yourselves a little bit of that money down the road, whichever one you're going to choose. And kind of relationships, as Don said, I think that that's very important. A relationship with who you're working with makes a big difference. As John's mentioning, we are going to need some more machines in the future, and things do come and pass. If these gentlemen here are, you know, within the industry of making machines come into our hands, maybe the right relationship can just guide us in the right way. If you have a career path where you're helping sell those machines, there's no doubt you know somebody that can help you or help us find something that we might be looking for.
Well, for myself, I'll tell you, I'm a huge after the sale guy.
Me too.
I'm not real friendly to deal with sometimes when it comes to that. And only because this township is my first and foremost. When I'm here working for this place, I'm fighting for every dime.
Absolutely.
And she can attest to that. And sometimes, again, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not very pleasant to deal with because You know, if we pay all this money for a piece of product, it doggone well better be running and not having to be worked on when we need to be out working it. Okay, so I can tell you, we've got some good relationships right here in this room with these vendors. So, and again, after as long as we've been beating this thing, I'd be shocked if somebody didn't take care of us after the sale. I really would be. So,
Folks in the back, are you Westmead residents?
Yes, but I don't have anything to say on that matter.
doesn't matter to you how your street gets plowed? It does?
That is.
No, it does not. That's why I'm here.
Oh, okay. Oh. You got the floor, fellas.
Well, I heard two of our residents say that initial purchase price is not necessarily their top priority as well. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable making the motion, but I'll make the motion. I'm gonna make a motion that we buy a cat wheel loader from Cleveland Brothers. Is there a second?
What's his motion for?
Pardon?
Which one did he motion for? I didn't quite catch it.
She wants to know which one you motioned
I
for.
made a motion to buy a cat wheel loader from Cleveland Brothers. I don't hear a second, so the motion dies for lack of a second.
Listen, I'm all about, listen, this money thing's a big thing to me, and it really is. And I've worked with all these guys, every one of them sit out here. And I guess this is what gets me about this CoStars. This is why we shouldn't have to go through this. We just go get what we want, because it's state, you know, we don't have to bid it. It's CoStars, and as long as they participate in CoStars, we can purchase it. That's what the whole thing's about.
I think we need to get this thing put to bed.
I mean,
Because, I mean,
We're
these
looking-
fellas right here, if I'd walk out here tonight, if I was one of these guys, I'd tell you right to your face, I'm not gonna hold your deal
yeah.
when I walk out that door.
Oh, no, I know, we're gonna, but here, and I'll tell you what,
That's what I would do.
I was sitting here doing some math.
We
And,
can't keep doing this. And again, my thought is I could do a lot with 42,000, or I could do a lot with $38,000, okay? And, you know, for me, every year, for me, my problem is I go to her every year, and she gives me 20 grand on an average every year to do my seal coat patching, and I need 30. So, you know, those are my worries, okay? So I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, because I know what I go through every year for money, and there's only so much.
all right,
And we have a nice paving project that we're looking at too, so,
Well,
again, you know.
listen.
That's my total dilemma right there, so.
You have a motion to purchase the cat.
It died for lack of a second.
Make it again.
Pardon?
You wanna make it again?
I'll make a motion, we buy a cat wheel loader from Cleveland Brothers.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Mayor, we need to make sure that it's on the condition that we meet all the requirements for the LSA grant. And I'll remind you that the application was made for a different machine, so that needs to be taken into account. That needs to be, make sure that we're going to receive the grant.
I hear that loud and clear, Alan, but I thought, Jill, we researched that you could make changes.
I'm just saying that the agreement requires that that be approved by the funding agency. So we need to make sure that that's.
It does, it has to be approved by the funding agency?
Yes.
If you're going to change, if
Right.
you're going to stay with the John Deere,
Yeah,
it
but
does not need to.
Well,
I thought it was under
It
the
was
state.
even a different model John Deere.
I thought it was under the stipulation that it was still in the wheel loader category.
That was
That's,
what they
unfortunately, that's not what the
indicated.
agreement says.
Oh, really?
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
And I'll read it specifically here, but I think I have a tab.
Well,
Okay.
I trust everything you say.
Yeah.
Well, now, how are you gonna figure that out?
Find out what we need to do, whether it needs to be written change or whether we can do it verbally. I just don't know the answer to that.
So the motion has to have that condition,
I would make it with it subject to that condition.
subject to that condition.
So, subject per the condition, just like the motion's written,
Oh, I'm sorry, sure.
is what you're,
Yeah,
Now,
Yeah,
Alan,
yes.
is it out of line if that condition stands, that we had to stay with what we spec'd without making this thing any more painful than it's already been? What would we do next? So if we have to go back to what was spec'd or what was written,
Here's what it says.
if you have to do that.
The applicant may not make or authorize any substantial change in the approved project without first obtaining the consent of the Commonwealth Financing Agency in writing.
on there, you can read it.
That's what it says, so.
he's reading the agreement, it's just not the fully executed agreement.
Okay, but I
There's no
thought,
substantial change, though. Well, yeah,
I thought that we,
I don't think it's gonna be that hard.
okay, but what I thought that we had researched is because we knew there was 3 vendors. We knew that right out of the gate, okay? They were all spec'ing wheel loaders. So we weren't changing it to a backhoe, boom mower, or
skid steer.
skid steer, or a street sweeper, or something like that, you follow me? And it's,
That's the application, though. It says John Deere wheel loader, 544G.
Yeah,
That's in the application.
okay.
so we need to,
We need to just make sure that it's gonna be covered.
okay, so,
I doubt that.
again, my question back to you, if that would,
If that's gonna throw a monkey wrench into it, Don, would you incorporate, then you go to the 544? It's not a G, it's a P.
P,
Okay.
and the P
Well,
is,
like, that's not what was in the application. But Joe and I did contact Stephen, oh, come on. Stephen Shalander from the Economic Development, from DCED. We contacted him, and he told us in an email that we could change brands, vendors, that kind of stuff.
And I don't doubt that that's probably correct, but I just want to leave the door open in case
Absolutely.
we misunderstood.
Okay.
So my motion is as written here. I make a motion to approve the purchase of a CAT wheel loader under the CoStar State contract from Cleveland Brothers in the amount of
$42,750.
and authorize the appropriate officials to take any necessary actions as per conditions of the local share assessment grant funds with Commonwealth Financing Authority approval. Mike, can you second
Yes.
that as, okay, more discussion, does that satisfy it?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion?
If it's all right, I would like to just add that it would be the quote amount of the 216,750 minus the 74,000 minus the 100,000 to show the dollar amounts, because years down the road, I don't want it to be that it was just for $42,000, if that's acceptable.
Well, it's just using trade, or the,
Yeah, just,
Right.
if that's, I
Yes.
just want to make sure it looks clear how we're coming at that.
Yes. Is there any more discussion?
None for me.
Roll call.
So you made the motion, you seconded it, Mike Jordan seconded it. So Jordan,
Yes.
Charles,
no.
Bovard,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Again, gentlemen, all 3 of you, thank you very much for your diligence, your efforts. I know 2 of you are leaving disappointed, I'm very sorry for that, but we have more equipment to purchase in the future, and we will definitely be in contact, I'm sure. One note in tonight's agenda, our reorganizational meeting will be on January 6th, 2025 at 5 p.m., followed by the regular monthly meeting. Is there any public comment at this time? Please come up front. If you would, please identify yourselves, tell us where you live.
My name is Kristen Katie, and I live on Pearson Avenue, and I'm here as a public safety concern. The road is not being plowed, the public road to the end of the road. It's been going on for years, and that is due to the intentional negligence of the roadmaster. And I am a taxpayer. I'm a nurse in the community. I am a special needs mom. And last week, when it snowed so much and he refused to plow to the end of my road, if my son needed emergency services or if I needed to get him to emergency services, I couldn't. And I'm tired of it.
Ma'am, you never spoke to me.
And he has belittled, berated, and bullied me for over a decade, so I'm not going to address him. I'm going to address the other two supervisors here. I would like you to do something about it. It's gone too far. He does not plow to the public road. It's not just my family's safety that is an issue. Other people come, the mail delivery, other people deliver there. If somebody were to fall on that, do you know how far that is? That he stops plowing before the end of the road? I'm not good with measurements.
Well,
Approximately.
judging by the tax map and actually the West Mead map, I believe it was .13. I'm not.
I don't think he's allowed to speak.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was it?
I'm not allowed to speak.
You can speak to me and I can say it.
0.13 miles
0.13 miles.
from Alden
From Alden
to the end of Pearson.
to the end of Pearson. How far is it from the mailbox where he stops plowing to the end of the road approximately?
636 feet.
Do you think?
Correct. Well, if you were going to go by that actual tax map, it goes way into the woods. Obviously, you can't plow into the woods.
Yeah.
So there's a considerable amount of the road that's not being plowed. It was a sheet of ice. If somebody were to fall, that would be on West Mead Township. That's not on me. I don't own that. The road ends after my sidewalk. On every map I've looked at, I've had my property surveyed. I do not own the road, and he's doing it to be spiteful because I don't let him use my driveway to turn around anymore.
You want to hear my side of this thing?
I would.
Yeah, well, here's the truth. For years, we plowed that road when there was another resident who lived there. He had a verbal agreement with us to turn around in there. And actually, Mr. Jordan is the one that had that verbal agreement with him initially. And we always grandfathered into that.
Frank Shesky.
Frank Shesky. And then the property was purchased, and she, at that point, allowed us to turn around in that turnaround. But the problem was my guys plowing the road, it was constant issues of trying to get turned around because of cars being parked in the turnaround or cars being parked at the end of the street.
Which is my private driveway.
And I'm
My
speaking right
private
this second,
property.
ma'am. If you give me my
You
turn,
interrupted
you can have your turn
him, so I
back.
can point that out.
Here's what happened, and you're aware of it a year ago. You are as well, Mike. And what had happened is when we were told by a boyfriend to stay off of the property, that we no longer had permission to turn around there, we then had to seek another way to turn our trucks around. Okay? I plowed that for as long as I could, but we ended up having to have, didn't make sense to have two trucks go up on the same street. And that's what it was doing. It was costing us double to have to go there. So we created it so that we could use one truck and talk to the one resident who now has passed away. We've talked to his son, and they are allowing us to turn around, which is extremely tight for us to turn those trucks around up there. So I explained to Miss Katie, correct?
Yes.
At that point in time that we were no longer going to, because initially the agreement, verbal agreement we had with her was we actually fixed a portion of what would be her driveway beyond the roadway. We put gravel in there and we maintained it for her to try to help her, and we plowed past there. But when the boyfriend issue kept getting in the way that we couldn't turn around any longer, we were told to stay off the property. I had to come up with another way of doing it. I had told her at that point in time, you're gonna need to have somebody plow the additional rest of the, what you consider road or driveway. We did fix up a spot up there so that we could help her get into her upper driveway. Because if you remember correctly, you requested us to do that.
I did not. That is, I've never requested you to do anything other than clean up the gravel that you pushed up there
Ma'am, we
during
don't
spring
plow
cleanup.
private property, okay? Now, would
And
have
I
no
never
business
asked you
being
to.
up
I
there,
never
okay?
asked you to do anything on my
The
property.
bottom line is, we don't plow past what we own anymore, okay? We've stopped that,
Don't
okay?
plow to the end of what you own.
You want me to plow past what we own. and
No,
I'm
I do not. Look at the
I'm
map.
not doing that.
Well,
Look at the
but
map.
that's just what I,
We're not doing it, because the
where's, yeah,
bottom
but I
line
mean,
is.
where is the end of our right of way? Is that that turnaround driveway?
No, it's just past that, to the right. Right there
It's
where we've been
past
throwing it
my
off.
sidewalk, depending on what you look at. And there's one that shows that it goes into the woods, even though it's not paved. And I would like to address the incorrect statements that he made. Can I go now? So this all actually started, I purchased the property in 2013. I never had a verbal agreement with anybody. I did let them turn around in my bottom driveway. I was there. I was a single mother of 2 young children. I came home shortly after, I don't remember the exact date. I came home one day and my large waste management garbage can had been plowed into my driveway. I had 30 minutes to leave work, get home, make my lunch, eat lunch. I didn't get to do any of that. I had to spend my entire lunch digging the snow out, digging my garbage can out. I called the township. I thought maybe they didn't know, and let them know, please be more careful next time. I didn't get a response. About a week later, Waste Management told me that I would have to pay for the damage because when you have a garbage company, they have you rent their cans. They're not yours. They told me I was going to have to pay for it. I called Mead Township back and let them know, are you going to pay for this? And this is the first time that John Shartle became verbally aggressive towards me. And that's when all the problems started. That's when he started calling me at all hours of the night. In the bottom driveway, there would be a truck parked in there. If it was even a couple inches forward too much for his liking, he'd call me at 2 a.m. and tell me I had to move it. This happened for years. He would call the Mead Township Police on me multiple times for parking a vehicle on my own property in my driveway. And they would come out and they would scold me as an adult for me parking on my own property. Of course, they couldn't do anything because I was not breaking the law. The final straw actually came in 2021, not last year. It was January 2021. We had just put our young children to bed on a school night. We were just about to go lay down as well. And I heard somebody blaring their horn nonstop outside of my bedroom window. I thought something had happened. I thought somebody was in an accident. We went out, and it was him laying on the horn. And when I mean nonstop, I mean nonstop. I came out. He didn't take his hand off until we came out. And I don't know if you can swear because this is recorded, but he started screaming, "Move your piece of SHIT truck out of the way," screaming at us. And this is what we had to deal with. So yes, after that, I told him he is no longer allowed on my property because of that. I was sick of it. I'm sick of the abuse. I told him no. He's never done anything on my property that I asked him. After that, he told me I would have to plow because I own the end of the road, which I don't. And the neighbor across the street, his son does not own that. It's actually owned by a different person, so I'm not sure what he's talking about there. But he does use the driveway across the street. It's a large double driveway that is always empty, and he currently uses that, so he can turn around. And I also never asked him to put gravel down or anything. He's never done any type of maintenance on my property. But they own up until the other side of my sidewalk. You guys own it, Mead Township. It's not mine.
How do you prove that? What evidence do you have that we own it and you don't?
I send you a map every year via email. I send it to you. Let me see if I can find it.
And another thing, ma'am, if you're gonna come in here and accuse me, you better back it up with some proof. I don't
I
even
have
know
a video.
I don't even
have
know
a video.
your
Would you
phone
like me
number.
to play it?
I have never called
Would you like
at
me to
2
play
or
the
3
video
o'clock in
of
the
you
morning.
screaming at us? Would
I
you
have
like that?
never called you at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Never
You
have.
did. You did. You used
You
to
better
do it
come
all
up
the
with
time.
dates for that.
I don't
You're
have
gonna come in
dates
here
for
and
that,
accuse
but
me
I
of
have a
something,
video.
back it up.
I have the video. Would you like me to play it now?
I don't care what you do, I really
Would you like
don't.
me to play it?
I told you needed to.
I would like the abuse to stop. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm not receiving the services that I'm supposed to be receiving.
We dealt with this a year ago, about a year ago, or two.
Can I ask a question?
And I got the same thing from you guys, and it was, you were told me to stay off of her property, and that's exactly what we're doing. One, she can't be trusted, because every time you turn around, there's a vehicle parked in the way where we can't do what we need to do up there. And yes, you can speak.
So I've known John for probably 5 years or so, maybe shortcoming of that, but I've never had an issue with him. He's a well-rounded person, as far as I would know. But on what you're saying, you're looking at tax maps and GIS, I believe is what you'd probably be looking at. So item 1 of this meeting today was a committee hearing for a subdivision. And in 4 different parts of the GIS, that's incorrect on just the property I'm just trying to purchase.
I don't.
I've also had a survey of my property done too.
In this, I mean, to come in and, you know, somebody that is going the lengths, even with talking about the heavy equipment we're trying to purchase, somebody that's going the rate to put their time, effort, money, and, you know, just level of stress, you know, focusing on the community, making sure we're not paying more money. To come in with those kinds of claims, we need more than a video to say something along those lines.
I can show you pictures of where the road ends.
Without regard to that,
Yeah.
it's more so when you come at somebody with, you know, personal accusations or the land, if you have a survey, any of this kind of stuff can be resolved. And it's always, you get more bees with honey than you're gonna.
Oh, I've tried for over a decade. I have. I'm tired. I'm so tired.
Listen,
I'm
Miss
so tired of
Katie,
this.
let me say something to you real quick, and listen close. Look at me. Here's what I will tell you. This whole thing started,
Because of the garbage can.
well, I don't believe that. If this whole thing started when we come up in there, my guys came up in there with a truck and couldn't get turned around. They called me on the radio.
That's
and they
not
s-
my responsibility.
Just listen to me a
That is
second.
not my
This is
responsibility.
when we were plowing clear past your second driveway that you
were
did
not, that's where you
request-
were leaving a
you
pile
did-
of snow.
You did
And I did not
request us to fix that up so that you could get to that second driveway.
No, I requested you to pull out the rocks that you had pushed up into there during spring cleanup.
You
Because
did
you
do
also
that, too.
refused to
And
do
we-
that.
and we did
Because you
clean
were
it up.
trying
We
to
did
make sure
clean it
that
up.
I wasn't receiving the services that I need as a
We were
taxpayer.
pushing the snow past your second driveway.
Correct.
For years, we did it for you.
Correct.
When we were told
Not for
that we
me.
no longer could turn around, and that turnaround, it ended. It ended right there.
Is it typical
Do
for
you
the
want to fix
government
the
to
problem,
use
or do you want to keep beating
private
this dog
property
to
to
death?
turn around?
Because
Is
I gotta
it
tell you
the
something.
citizens' responsibility for
We
that?
never had an issue plowing for you at all, or
Until
beyond
you were verbally
our
abusive to me.
responsibility.
Yes, that is correct.
Listen, when you take a $100,000 truck and take it up Pearson Avenue,
Again,
and I
that is not
can't
my
turn it-
responsibility. It is yours.
What do you want to do with this? This is a joke.
It is not
I
my
am not going to
responsibility.
jeopardize a
If somebody's
$100,000
to
piece of
fall on that
equipment.
part, that
because we
section of
can't get it
road,
turned
West
around.
Mead Township
Not
will be
gonna do it.
responsible for that. And I tell you, I get a lot of deliveries, a lot of people come and go. I have a special needs son. If emergency vehicles can't get to me, that's going to be an issue. It's not right. And it's simply because he's upset with me. And I don't think that is
We were
correct
happy to
behavior
plow past
for
your
a
driveway.
elected
When that
official.
stopped, I told her she's going to need to hire somebody. We're not going to do it
Nobody
any
will
longer.
plow that because it's a public road and it's a
It is
liability,
not.
and they refer me back to the township every time.
Alan, let me ask you, how do we determine what the township?
What the road,
Yeah, what the length of the road is, where,
I mean, would
Where
you go
we
off
should
of that
stop.
map? Would it be .13 miles
as,
from
as he
Alden?
just said that the GIS maps are
Well, that's not
not.
the GIS, that's the actual West Mead Township road maps that has
I
the
wouldn't go
lengths
off
of
of that.
roads.
what we normally do is we have to check the court records to see what the distance was when
Right.
it was opened and that
She's
kind of
not
thing.
asking to plow her personal driveway by
I'm
any means.
asking the road to be
Yeah,
plowed.
you can
We
tell
are
where the pavement
plowing the
ends.
road. We are plowing the
You
road.
are not. I have pictures.
Well, there's obviously a question about that, so
Yeah,
it's
so
something that we'll have to
It
look
just
into.
appears to be about 25.
When was the last
Feet,
time
sure.
that you plowed your driveway out up there? When was the last time you shoveled your driveway out?
This weekend, I snowblowed it.
Well, then you need to snow blow a little further. because you're not snow.
We're not snow blowing
far
the
enough.
public road. That's a liability for us.
Well, I'm not plowing a private driveway.
You're not.
You're afraid I'm not?
You're not finishing the public road is
I
the
am
issue.
finishing the
You are not.
public road.
You are not.
What I can tell you is we will look
Done.
into it.
Thank
We
you.
will
We
figure
looked
out.
into it a year ago.
Thank you very much.
Mike?
Listen, what's tomorrow? Wednesday. How about, do you work tomorrow?
Yes, I work Monday through Friday.
What time do you get out of work?
It's 7 o'clock. I had to leave early to come here.
7 o'clock at night?
Yep,
So you go to work at what time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Do you get up, are you up at 9? Or
Mm-hmm.
if I'd stop up at 9,
Yes,
and then we'll take a look at this and see what we can do,
I would greatly appreciate that.
okay?
Good idea.
Yeah. We'll take a look at it here, and let's get this rectified, because, but I'm having a hard time.
Right now, we're having a hard time getting turned around with
Yeah.
what we got.
Well, and I'm not, I gotta get some measurements here, because I don't think that road goes all the way up in front of that house.
It does.
Right, the road
No,
does.
just to the other side of my driveway. It does not go all the
You
way to
mean
my
right
house.
to where they were
Or, I'm sorry, the sidewalk. So
Is the
my
sidewalk still in the middle of the house?
in the center of the house, yes. So the road actually ends immediately after that sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest of my house continues, and that is no longer, there's like gravel there, but I don't use that a driveway or
Okay.
anything, but it ends right at the end of that sidewalk.
Okay, all right.
And that's exactly where we're winging the snow off, to the right-hand side.
And I have pictures if you'd like to see them
Sure, show
tomorrow.
pictures. Here's another thing, too. When it come to the garbage can,
Yeah.
Ora told me numerous times the garbage can was right in the middle, or not in the middle of the road, but right on the cartway. I said, do the best you can to get around it. I said, you know what the circumstances are, do the best you can to get around it. And
Do you
he
want
has
me to
done
come
that.
up to show you, or?
Sure, show him.
Oh, 90.
So here are the mailboxes. The sidewalk is way up here, and you can see he's stopping plowing way down here.
Why don't you come around?
And he's pushing snow onto private property on the other side.
Is that your property?
It's private property that you do not own, so.
You guys better wake up here. You better wake up.
Oh, I'll come up tomorrow, yeah, okay?
Hey, hopefully Mike will go up there tomorrow and we can come to some sort of a mutual agreement.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to supervisor's final comment. Mike?
Yeah, I'm glad, I'm waiting for this meeting to be over with. I'm tired, I'm drained. Yeah, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. I mean, the season's upon us almost here, so everybody have a nice Christmas, and a good New Year, or better New Year. And we'll see you next year.
John, anything?
Yeah, I got something. Again, back to the garbage can problem. We've had nothing but nonstop problems. Garbage cans on the road, in the intersections. I can name them all, but the bottom line is people need to wake up and move the garbage cans so they don't end up knocked over. Now, the other thing I have to talk about is we had a fatality in the week, the township over the weekend. And I gotta tell you, we need to crack down, Chip, on these people that don't want to run with reflective clothing on. I met a kid this morning at 5:30 this morning on Leslie Road, right on the curve, completely dressed in black, ski mask on. All I saw was his face, jet black clothing. Now, the girl that lost her life, I understand she was dressed the same way. If these people aren't smart enough to protect themselves, I don't know how we protect them. And I sure don't want the same thing to happen to us as what happened to PennDOT, because they didn't deserve this. Okay? So I'm saying people need to wake up and take some responsibility. If you want to jog, jog, but put some clothing on. Now, you told me Nathan Zazula tried to give that girl,
A green safety vest.
yes, and wouldn't take it.
Wouldn't take it.
But I'm just saying, people, and I hope everybody's listening, they need to wake up. If you wanna jog, jog, but, you know, don't put our lives at risk as well, okay? That's about all I have.
I'll reiterate what Mike said. I'm glad this meeting is just about over. It's been long and very draining. To add on to what John just said, there are a lot of people out there walking on the streets all hours of the night. I know down in my neighborhood, people walk up and down Liberty Street, walk up and down Franklin Pike, going to the Dollar General down on 322. We've had at least 2 pedestrians hit down there. I think one was killed. So yes, if you're out walking and it's dark, you should have on some reflective clothing. I also would like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next
By the way,
year.
I'm not plowing that street.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll get you the numbers. I'll get you the numbers.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Chartle?
Yes.
Bogard?
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.